So thank you very much, first of all, for your invitation to participate in OpenSyn 2021. We're going to be presenting the article entitled "The Platform Belongs to Those Who Work on It," in which we'll discuss alternative models of task allocation in the context of crowdsourcing communities. I'm going to start introducing the context and our case study, and I will also provide an overview of the methods. And after that, my colleague Jorge will discuss the findings and the contributions. So it seems pretty clear now that the digital platforms are mediating our day-to-day practices in work more and more. And the context of our study is concretely in crowdsourcing platforms, in which work is divided into small tasks or taskified. A famous example of this is the Amazon platform, Amazon Mechanical Turk. And these tasks include, for example, data curation, creating translation, captioning, or tagging images to train artificial intelligence algorithms. So within these platforms, typically the work is allocated on a first-come, first-served basis. And although first-come, first-served has been argued to be efficient, it clearly creates competitive dynamics between workers. So we're also exploring the literature and there are alternative approaches. However, these normally do not consider the workers' needs, and when they do, very rarely they include the workers in the design. So with all that in mind, we consider this scenario and we pose the question, can we identify alternative models for the distribution of tasks in crowdsourcing that considers the needs of the workers, including them in the design? With this in mind, we chose Amara on Demand as the main case study, and we have established a collaboration with them. This is an ongoing study. Amara was originally developed as an open platform to create subtitles in a volunteer basis, titles like, for example, those of the Tech Talks or the Khan Academy. Nevertheless, in 2015, they launched a project called Amara on Demand, in which customers, they could pay for creating subtitles and the linguists are paid. And this is where we're going to place the focus during this presentation and during this study. It's also important to note that although Amara is a global community, the linguists are organized on a per language basis, and that context is quite relevant organizationally. So why choosing Amara to design alternative models? Well, previous studies, such as those of Hanson, show how, in comparison with other crowdsourced platforms, Amara on Demand present a lower degree of alienation of the workers. Similarly, the work of Gray and Suri in Ghost Work, they show how Amara is inspired by cooperative and common practices. Therefore, we concluded that it represents a suitable space to experiment and co-build alternative models together with workers themselves. Methodologically, for the results presented in this article, we follow a multimodal qualitative approach, which combines participant observation, interviews, focus groups, etc., which could be divided into two phases. One, focus on understanding the platform as a worker, and a second one in focus on understanding the organizational processes and dynamics involved in the community. Next, my colleague Jorge will present the findings and the contributions.
Yes, thank you, David. As mentioned at the beginning, the first come first served logic is the main component of the task allocation model in Amara, as in many other crowdsourcing platforms. And one of the main findings of this work is that this first come first served logic creates a competitive dynamic between linguists to assign tasks to themselves, as depicted by the following quote from the interview people. Said, I learned how to be fast and not to sleep with my computer, but to wake up with my computer right next to me. If you really want to get this work, you need to be next to your computer for hours. We identified three alternative models for task allocation, and one of them is inspired by the round-robin algorithm used by the operating system to decide how to schedule different processes competing simultaneously for CPU time. Participant 28 summarized this idea in the following code. I really like participant 26 ideas of the pre-assignment of tasks because this takes away the competitiveness aspect of task allocation so that we could reach a fair amount of work for everyone. Basically, in round robin, a task circulate in rounds among linguists until some of them accept it. The second model that emerged in our work is some sort of reputation system that helps to distribute tasks based on the linguist's experiences, as highlighted by the participant 28 who proposed to build a tier system based on the amount of minutes of videos that translators have worked on. So that could be, for example, 3 tiers: novice, intermediate, and veterans. And then the tasks are assigned to linguists in these 3 tiers, depending on the complexity of the videos. The idea is to create a reputation system similar to those that are in many platforms today on the internet. And once the reputation of the system of the user is built, they can be represented at badges, stars, points, or average scores attached to the screen name of the user. We can see here in the example of the Stack Overflow. And the third model that we identified during our workshop with the linguists was a model able to match their background, skill, or interest with the content of the video to be captioned or translated. As we can see in the following codes, if people work based on their background, they are much more used to terminologies that in the end increase the quality of the video or the caption or the translation. Or in this second quote, who said, not working only on what we are already specialized in, but having the chance to learn something new. So the idea is to use the fundamental of the recommendation system to pre-assign or recommend videos that are aligned with the linguist background or interest. To wrap up, the main contribution of our work are the models that we identify together with the linguists. We recognize that the models are ideal types that can be merged or combined between each other to build more complex task allocation models. And we also and this work also help us to understand that that platform in which worker define the way in which the platform works is possible, right? The work has some limitation as well. It is based on a qualitative approach, so we cannot generalize the results. And also, it's important to contextualize the results in this case study of Amara on demand. For future work, we want to complement this work with a quantitative analysis that help us to have a big picture of how the platform works. And also, we are organizing similar workshop with other language group, for example, the Japanese. So thank you very much for being here, and I hope you have enjoyed the talk.